Good morning.
Good morning.
Maria Riley, also formerly known as Maria Amabilis. And we'll get into how you got that name or how you chose that name a little bit further in the story. So thanks, Maria, for your willingness to come and share part of your life with us. And I say part because we have 30 minutes to get in many decades of your life, so we'll pick and choose as we go along. Now, you were born in Elgin.
Well, I was
Illinois?
born in St. Joseph's Hospital in Elgin because it was Catholic. But I grew up, when I came out of the hospital, I went to Crystal Lake, Illinois, which is where I grew up.
Crystal Lake, and so that's where your folks, and you were a happy addition to the family.
Yes.
Were you?
Right.
Which, you had a lot of siblings. What child were you?
I was the last. I was the eighth.
The eighth child.
And 6 of my forerunners were boys. And so before I was born, and that was before they used to check whether the baby to come was male or female. They had decided that my name was going to be Peter, after my grandfather.
Who's they?
My parents.
Okay.
And of course, then I was born a girl. And so I was named after my mother.
Which is?
Helen.
Helen, so that's your baptismal name.
Right.
How did all those boys do with another sister, which would have been the second sister?
Well, they liked me, I think. I just remember the dinner table at night. We always were on basketball and football and whatever. And there wasn't much interest in the Girl Scouts.
So there was a time when you all sat down at the table. You know, those days are in the past.
Gone forever.
Right.
No, absolutely. Every night, all 8 of us, my mother and father and the 6 kids, well, it must have been 10.
10.
Always sat down. And one of the things I remember is on Sunday, we always had our dinner at 2 in the afternoon.
Right.
And of course, all of my buddies went to the movie, which started at 2. And so the whole time that I was in high school and I was at home, I never saw a full movie. I always got
you came at the midway.
Whenever I could escape from the table, I went to the movie theater. So I never saw a full movie.
So that's interesting. Tell a little bit about your parents.
Well, my father owned a printing company, and he worked in Chicago, and he took the train in every day. He was a commuter, as we call him. And my mother was, as was typical in those days, a stay-at-home mom. Of course, she had 8 of us to deal with, so she was busy enough. And well, I used to say we were typical. Irish Catholic Democrats, and we cheered for Notre Dame.
Oh, God. We didn't even hear about Notre Dame. Yeah. Okay. So then for high school?
I went to Mount St. Mary Academy because there was no Catholic high school in the town. And my brothers had all gone to the public school, but my parents wanted me to go to the Catholic school. And of course, they were older. My dad was retired by then, and so they used to go to Florida for a couple of weeks in the cold weather. And so I went to the Mount St. Mary Academy in St. Charles, and that's, of course, where I met the Adrians.
Now, was the Mount a boarding school?
Oh, yes.
Oh, okay.
And I loved the Mount, but when I entered, people used to say, well, how do you like the novitiate? And I'd say, oh, it's just fine. I paid to live this way for 4 years.
Oh.
The Mount was just like being in the novitiate.
Yeah, I've heard that about those boarding schools.
Yeah. And then after the Mount, I went 1 year to Barry, which was then Barry College, now Barry University. And then I entered. Okay,
so you went, you had a year after high school.
Yeah.
And you decided to go into the convent. Was that ever an issue with your sister? I mean, did she ever have that desire?
Oh, no.
No. Okay.
She married the boy next door,
Okay.
and she was a pretty good at the piano. Not great, but pretty good. And she used to sit and play love songs as loud as she could, so that Tom would hear her next door.
Oh, I love it. I love it. That's cute. Now, you were telling me a story earlier about when you were baptized.
Right.
And one of the sisters from the grade school, I mean,
Yeah.
you weren't going to the grade school, but they were in the parish there,
Yeah.
and I think they were Springfield Dominicans.
They were.
Okay. And what did that sister do? Tell us that story.
Sister Imelda, who eventually became the prioress of
Oh.
that group, but she was the principal of the grade school, and when my older brothers and sisters, of course, were all in the school. So when I was born, she had come over for my baptism.
Right.
And she took me up and put me on the altar of the Blessed Mother and prayed that I'd be a Dominican. And years later, when I met her, she said, I just forgot to say what kind.
That's cute.
Yeah.
That's cute. I'm sure she's no longer with us, but she's
No.
still an inspiration to you.
Right.
Well, thank you, Sister Imelda, for giving you to us. All right, so then you went to Berry College at the time, and then you entered. And how was that?
Well, it was
Well, as you said, you had 4 years of formation in the academy.
it was uneventful.
Yeah.
I mean, I had a very normal, what did we call it in those days? Formation?
Formation.
Yeah.
Yeah, your initial formation.
Yeah.
Okay. So then after you made profession, you started your ministerial life.
Right.
And do you recall some of the ministries that you were involved in that?
Well, early on, I basically was in teaching school, and I taught in Melbourne, Florida.
You were there a long time, I noticed.
6 years or something
Yeah.
like that. And that was a grade school. And
Right.
I taught in Fort Pierce, but that was only 1 year.
Okay.
And then I taught in Fort Lauderdale at the high school, St. Thomas Aquinas High School in Fort Lauderdale. I think that was for 6 or 7 years. In the meantime, I was also going to Florida State University and getting my master's and then my doctor's degree in English literature.
Right, you were English. Right, and you got your doctorate there too, at Florida
State University.
Florida State. Okay, so how did you use that degree?
Well, for the first 3 years after I graduated, I taught at Berry College. That was Berry College. And then at the end of that 3 years, I was voted in as a provincial.
Right.
And then I was a provincial for 2 terms, and that was 8 years. And when I got out of 2 terms of being provincial, I wasn't interested in teaching literature anymore.
So you were in leadership at that time. Were you in there with Jonetta? No. Okay.
Well,
okay. During one of those terms.
no.
No. Okay.
Let's see, I was with, I tell you, Veronica,
Oh, Veronica.
Mary Jo Kennedy, and Arnold.
Arnold, I
and,
forgot. Okay.
And then the second group that I was with was Grace Doherty,
Okay.
Kathy McKillop,
Uh-huh.
and Betty Condon.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yes, I remember. I was in Florida at the time. I remember you were very special in my life, and I should tell that in my story, which I've already told my story. Influential. So after you finished your leadership, then you were called to?
I went to work at the Center of Concern.
Okay, explain what the Center of Concern is.
It's a Catholic non-governmental organization, NGOs they're called. And the work that we did was, we wrote, and then we also gave workshops, and we also lobbied at the UN. In that capacity, if you think about network lobbying the U.S. government, well, we were lobbying the international,
Okay.
and with the Catholic social teaching, and mine, of course, was a strong emphasis on women's rights.
That's right. You were very famous for that.
Yes. Infamous in some cases.
Yes, yes. Yeah, very dedicated, very passionate
Yeah.
about that. So that was a significant ministry for you.
Yes. I suppose I was that very passionate because I was a girl at the bottom of a family of mostly boys.
Very good observation. So you say you were passionate, sometimes maybe too much. What do you mean by that?
Well, I turned people off. But it didn't affect me, but people would say, oh, there she goes again.
Right, right. So that's what you're famous for, or infamous for, huh?
Yep.
Turning people off? Disturbing people?
Yeah.
Disturbing people.
Yeah.
In a very positive
Yeah.
way. You were into Catholic
I was
social
never
teaching.
trying to be obnoxious. But
No.
The
Yeah.
topic was obnoxious
Right, right,
to them.
right. Because you were disturbing.
Yeah.
You were a disturbing element in many people's life.
Yeah.
They see you coming, they go the other way. Anyways, so how are you at this time of your life when you're away from that? And
Well, I'm very content.
good, and you seem to be, right?
I really am. I was, how old was I when I retired? I worked until my late 70s.
Yeah.
And I was very tired
Yeah.
when I retired. And so I'm very content.
Good.
I love it here.
Good, wonderful.
When people say, as I've heard, I'll never go to Adrian, I always say, you don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, we need to have a video. We need to have some kind of a video on people who made the transition from a very busy ministerial life,
Yeah.
and the transition into Adrian,
Yeah.
and what was challenging and what was most powerful and most a blessing for you. That'd be good. I noticed in a sabbatical in 1988. That was a very interesting sabbatical. Can you tell us about that? Where you went?
Yeah, I went to India.
Right.
It was fascinating. I had never been there.
What prompted you to go there?
I don't know.
Oh, okay. Go on.
Just because I had never been there.
Okay.
I didn't want to go to Latin America because I don't know Spanish. And I did want to stay in this country because I wanted it to be an experience that I learned about other cultures and other people. So I went to India for part of it and Africa for the other part. Nairobi, Africa.
Okay. And what was it that you observed, that you noticed, that you came home with something, I'm sure?
Yeah.
Much information
Well,
and experiences.
I think what struck me the most was the poverty. I just had, we have poverty in the U.S., but the poverty in India was overwhelming. And
in what way, Maria?
well, people were just bereft of education and you know, food, everything. It was just, first of all, there's a huge population in India, and they don't have enough resources to.
Okay, so then you were over there for a year. Then you went to Britain, Great Britain.
I went there because I was invited to go there, and I had met this woman at, I forget where, and I even forget her name, but she invited me to come and to teach a course. So in whatever I was doing at the time. And so I went to Great Britain, lived there for about 6 months, and taught, and just traveled in Great Britain. And of course, I had an English major, so I was fascinated with Britain. And friends came over, like Nancy Ann Turner came over, and we went to different parts.
Oh, good.
We
Okay,
traveled and stuff like that.
Yeah, because you did this solo. You did this sabbatical. You started out by yourself.
Oh, yeah. And ended by myself.
Yeah.
But as I say, particularly when I was in England, people came over because they wanted to come. Didn't get anyone interested in coming to India.
India. Zimbabwe. What was that like?
Well, it was African.
Yeah.
And
Were our women in Africa at that time?
yeah.
Okay, did you see them?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, good, okay.
Stayed with them.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay, so they were happy to see you, and you probably
Right.
were happy to see them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, always nice to see someone from home.
Absolutely.
So as you look at that year and look at the blessings of that year, can you just recall a couple blessings, just that whole experience?
Well, I always think anytime you expose yourself to another culture, which always has a different set of values, that you learn a lot, and you are changed by the interchange. And so I've had that experience in India, and I've had that experience in Africa. And your perception of the world is altered by those experiences.
Wonderful. You've had many people in your life, these many decades of your life.
I would think so.
And been inspired by some and been challenged by others. Can you just name a couple people who have inspired you and been with you along this journey? And what is it that made them so special to you?
Well, of course, Rosemary Ferguson.
Okay.
She was always very, very supportive of me and encouraged all my crazy ideas.
She was good with our women who seemed to be outside the what?
The normal.
Right. Talk about living on the margins.
Yeah. And I can't remember her name. But she was a good, I'm going to say, and she was a good friend of mine.
Well, that's right. It'll come tonight when you're ready to go to bed.
Yeah, but
like happens to us. Yeah.
What's her name?
Where did you meet her?
Here. She was on
here.
the council.
Oh.
See if I have it in here anywhere. No.
Now,
It'll come.
yeah, okay. Anyone else?
In the
Challenges? Yeah, it doesn't have to be the community, no. We have lots of people in our life that are not members of the congregation.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, I think mostly my travel had a lot to do with me, and I can't think of anyone offhand.
Do you stay in with your nieces and nephews? You must have a lot.
47?
Yeah, I know some of them have been here to see you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of them I'm close to, particularly the children of my sister.
Okay.
And some of them I'm less close to. And I think that had to do with I was so close to my sister in this family of...
All those guys, yeah.
Yeah. And so, therefore, they're her children.
Right.
More than the guys. But yeah, I'm in touch with them.
Very good.
Nadine Foley is the name I was trying to come up with.
See, if we forget it, we remember it.
Exactly.
If we move on.
And,
yeah. Well, she did a lot in the women's movement, and she was very supportive. And,
yeah, we worked together a lot.
Yeah. A big loss for many of us.
Oh, yeah.
Was now, what gives you, at this time of your life, energy and passion? As you're very content, and you look very peaceful and contented, but where do you put your energy and passion?
Well, I like being retired.
Good.
And my energy and passion is not a driving.
Which it has been.
Which it has been.
Yeah.
But so now I put my time and energy, I'd rather use that. And I read a lot. I spend quite a bit of time in reflection. I get that booklet, Give Us This Day. Are you familiar with
yes,
that?
I am. I don't use it, but I'm very...
I like it very much.
What spiritual book are you reading right now? I don't want to put you on the spot.
Spiritual book.
Besides Give Us This Day.
That's what I'm reading.
Yeah, yeah. Are you reading any political book or any novel? Or?
Yeah, what I like, I'm now reading The Two Queens.
Oh.
It's, I like historical fiction.
Yes.
And it's Catherine of Aragon and her daughter. So I'm reading The Two Queens.
Oh, well, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Most
of what I read is historical fiction.
Now,
although I did read, who was our president's wife's name?
Oh, yes, I read it too.
Yeah. Wonderful, wonderful book.
Yeah, yeah. Barack's wife.
Oh, yeah.
Michelle.
Michelle.
That's the book, Michelle. Yeah. You know, you've lived a very wonderful life, and I'm sure you met some people along the way that gave you some advice, be it you were young or be it you were old or be it whatever. Can you recall a piece of advice that has helped you to get you to this point? Could be from your family, relatives. That maybe it's a mantra, maybe it's...
Yeah, I think mostly it's like follow your passion.
Oh, good,
and I'm not sure who first told me that,
right.
But could have been Rosemary Ferguson.
Yeah, that's good.
It sounds like her. And so in that, I think I've done that.
If you could go any place right now, you have the health, you have the wherewithal, whatever, to go any place in the world, where would you like to go?
I'd probably like to go to Cape Town.
Oh, okay.
Mainly because, you know, the apartheid has been lifted.
Yeah.
And the citizens of Cape Town have begun to take over their lives. So that I'd like to go see that.
Okay. Should I say in your dreams?
In my dreams, yeah. I don't want to go anywhere.
No, I know. Well, you know, it's a blessing, Maria. It is a real gift to be contented with this time and place of your life.
Oh, I agree.
And you evidence that by your presence. You do.
Thank you.
You're just very calm. You're not rushing around. You seem happy, and you just move with whatever's happening at the time. That is a true gift, and you model that with whether you know it or not. So I thank you also in the name of the congregation for all you've done and been, all the places you've been, and how you have preached the gospel no matter what you were about, just as you are doing it now.
Thank you.
So thank you so much. And Sister Maria, I never found out how you got Maria Amabilis.
It was given to me.
Oh, okay, Maria.
I asked for, I think, Marion. That was my grandmother's name.
Okay.
And I got Maria Amabilis. And of course, my family said, what? And the kids in grade school could never say it, so they called me Sister Marvelous.
Oh, cute, cute.
And that's what I'm. And then as soon as it was when I went to Florida State, well, Sister Maria Amabilis Riley was just more than they would deal with. So their computer named me Sister Maria Riley.
Right,
And
yeah.
I've stuck with that.
Yeah, I noticed that. Those are clever stories. Okay, well, thank you, my friend, for doing this. And now you've got those nice notes in there.
Nice notes.
That you could put in for your autobiography.
Yeah.
So thank you, Maria Riley. Maria Amabilis Riley.
Maria Riley.
Okay, thank you. Peace.
Thank you.